If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? Welcome to another edition, a Friday edition of the Ron and Don Show, and it's our real estate only show. It's about 15 minutes, and we talk about a concept as real estate brokers that we've learned this year. It's the kind of show that when we were young brokers or young investors, we wish that someone was doing. I have to say this about today's show. This is a very visual show. So we do have cameras now. I know it's new to a lot of you. You're going to want to go to either how can people consume the show? Because Ron is going to explain something to us. He's created this graph and this whiteboard, and you're going to want to see this. How can they see it?
Yeah, so if you listen on Spotify, there's a button you can hit to just go from audio to the video presentation, or you can go to YouTube, and on YouTube, just search Ron and Don Radio, subscribe to our channel, and you can watch it there. I think it will be helpful if you do watch this particular
And
episode.
to clarify, Katie stopped me in the store the other day, and again, she asked, is Ron using a Harry Potter wand to explain what's going on in his whiteboard? And I said, I think he is.
Absolutely, here. It's a magic wand.
Where did you get the magic wand from?
I think I got it on Amazon.
Oh, you did?
Because when we do sit-downs, a lot of times we had a question if you could wave a magic wand, and so I actually bought a magic wand.
And then you almost sometimes poke the clients in the eye when you're waving it around, which you almost just did to me. Does it have batteries in it?
I need to get new batteries. Batteries are out.
What does it do with
the tip lights up?
Oh, it does. Okay.
And it makes a sound. It makes a
So
Harry Potter sound.
Ron has the wand now. If you're just listening and driving, we'll do our best to kind of explain it. And some of this you'll be able to see on our social media pages too. I'm Don O'Neill, Ron Upshaw. What do you got on the real estate?
So this is a really great story, and it's shout out to the Washington Post that published the first story, and some of this data I got from the Washington Post. And so it's an article on, the title is basically that baby boomers have the lion's share of all assets in the American economy, and how if you are 40 and under, the circumstances for you may never coalesce in the same way that they did for boomers to have the same accumulation of wealth.
So this is how boomers built wealth. How can their kids or their grandkids build wealth? And you're saying,
are they boxed out of it?
Yeah.
And so let's just look at the quadrants here of what we have. So this is the share of assets. The green line, the dark green line, are people that are 70 years or older in America. The pink line is for people that are 40 years and under in America right now. And so if you look at each of the boxes, it's exactly the same for each one. It goes from 1989 to 2025, and then on the right axis, and the up and down axis, you have 20% and 40% of all the assets in America. So let's start out here with corporate earnings and mutual funds. If you look along this graph, what you see is from 1989 to present, that baby boomers, or the boomer generation, has nearly 40% of all of that in the entire United States, while people that are 40 and under, it's just flatlined. There's little ripples here and there, but their share of those assets is not increasing the same way that it increased for baby boomers.
Do you include pensions in that? Because pensions used to be a thing in this country, and like I have a pension. I don't know if you have a pension, but I have a pension. But later years of Cairo, they're like, hey, we'll do a match on 401k, but we're not going to do pensions anymore. So,
yeah, I believe pension is wrapped up into this box
into that
here.
Number, yeah.
And so down here you have mortgages and real estate. So real estate holdings, this is very interesting. When you look at the value of your asset in real estate for the 70 plus crowd, it has gone up in a very dramatic way to nearly around 30 to 35% of all the wealth in America is captured in the 70 plus range. And for the 40 and under range, it has been going down. It's slightly down. It's not dramatically down, but it's slightly down. And then when you look at mortgages, it's kind of the opposite. So your 70 plus crowd, many of them don't have a mortgage. And so their share of mortgage in America has risen slightly from 89 to 2025. But if you look at 40 and under, and this is interesting, from 89 till now, it has dropped dramatically.
Because they're paying it off.
No, because they're not owning any real estate. And so the 40 and under crowd has gotten spooked out of real estate, especially in the housing crisis that happened. And so they're just choosing to not enter the market. And so as a result, this last quadrant is all of the assets in America has gone for the 70 plus crowd. It's gone up to almost 40% of all the assets. It equals $85 trillion in assets.
Wow. For
the 40 and under crowd, it is flatlined and gone down a little bit. So there's a couple factors going on in this that's very, very interesting. So for the 70 plus person, when they bought the home, and this is adjusted for inflation, the average home cost was $242,000 when they purchased back in the day. The average home cost now, again, adjusted for inflation for a 40 and under person has doubled almost to $410,000. These are adjusted numbers.
Okay.
And so a larger percentage of the income, if you're 40 and under, is going towards housing, either housing, a mortgage, or a rent. And so also the amount of debt that people 40 and under have has doubled in the same time frame that the 70-year plus crowd. Why is that? Because back in the day, tuition was lower, your health care was lower, capital gains tax was lower for the 70 plus crowd. All of those things have gone up. And you talked about this looking into college for your son. Tuition back in the 80s, you could go to a state school for a couple $1,000s a semester. And now you're looking at, $30,000, $40,000 when you talk about housing and food costs.
For a state school.
Healthcare has just gone up. It's gone up 25% in the last year. Yeah. Some people, healthcare has doubled in the last year alone. So that is eating out. And what does that mean? That this 40 and under crowd just doesn't have the raw dollars to invest anymore. The other thing that was very interesting and that pointed out in this article is that 2008 crisis, if you were coming of age in that time, it freaked you out. You saw banks fail. You saw a mortgage bubble happen. And so as a result, for younger people, they are now gun shy to even invest in the market at all. They're like, I don't know if I can trust this Wall Street. I don't know if I can trust the housing market. And so I am just not going to invest at all. I'm going to be a renter. Wow. And I literally don't have excess dollars to put into the market. And then the final one that they pointed out for people that have families, childcare has more than doubled in that time. So paying for your childcare, paying for food costs, paying for all these things, there are real costs. And so what you're seeing happen is that this gap is getting wider and wider between total assets, $85 trillion for the 70 plus crowd. And then it just keeps going down for this crowd. They do not have the extra money to invest in housing, invest in the market. But the largest category of this $85 trillion of wealth is real estate. Second to that is mutual funds. And so most of the equity that people have here, Don, is sitting captured. You can't use it. And the people are hanging on to this. We see this all the time of folks that have a great interest rate or a house that's paid off it's already paid off. And they just sit there and don't do anything with that equity position. We have a client that we were working with last year that has a home on Queen Anne, and it's paid off. And they're like, should we sell it? Because we're moving to California. And it's like, we don't have any cash. And I'm like, yes. If you don't have any cash and you have a 7-figure house on Queen Anne, what are you doing? You're in your 70s. So I guess what's your takeaways on this graph, and what sort of things would you tell someone that's under 40 that is missing out on this upward trend in their assets?
Yeah, well, this is really interesting. So on childcare, I think that's one of the reasons why you see people not having as many kids. I thought about having a second child at one point, and then I thought about the childcare and the nannies that I paid for. The nannies I paid for every month were more than my mortgage payment, and my mortgage payment wasn't cheap. And I'm like, wow, if I had to do that again. someone that's going to change a diaper for a baby right now, they make between $60 and $85 an hour as a nanny. If it's in a situation where, let's say, you're taking care of two young kids, my mom and dad are, and for me, maybe 10 years ago when I was doing that for my son, it was still around $45. It was around $45, $50 an hour. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see as many people having kids. That's really interesting about those kids growing up in the age of what happened in 2008, because that's kind of when I made my real estate moves, was in 2008, was as everybody was running from the market, was to dip into the market at that one time. And that's when the wealth snowball for me.
And I don't blame them for being fearful of that.
I don't blame them either.
Because you saw everything collapse around you at an impressionable age.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing, though, is this money has to go somewhere. This $85 trillion has to go somewhere. And I wonder, as we look at these 70-plus folks, I wonder how much of that money will be pushed toward the 40 and under. I do think what we see happening, though, is for the 70-plus crowd, because the interest rates are so low on a lot of these big homes that they own, instead of selling those homes, and that's what we always hear. You see, you just brought up the example of someone that's like, yeah, we're house rich, but we're cash poor, and we could use some cash. Could we sell it? Most of the time, everybody shops interest rate, no matter what you do. Doesn't matter what the market's doing. Everyone's going to shop an interest rate. And that 2.8% interest rate, it's why the housing market is all locked up right now.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like it is. And people are like, well, we should go back to the 2.8 rate interest rate. We would have such stagflation if we did that. We can't do that. Interest rates should be around 5 or 6%. They should have never been at 2.8. And at some point you have to pay. And that's what we're paying for right now. We're paying those because of that 2.8% rate. Those boomers are not letting those homes go, and they're not downsizing. They're living and staying in those homes, and a lot of them are putting reverse mortgages on the home, so they're not transferring that wealth down. They're saying, "I'm going to put a reverse on it." They're living older, longevity. And we know clients where they thought they had some money coming to them from mom and dad or their grandparents, and they didn't, because they didn't know that mom and dad and the grandparents put a reverse on it. So all that money is going to the banks. It's not going to the 40 and under crowd.
So talk to this dynamic. This age group, 70 plus, and I would say that we're even at the tail end of this. The model was, I'm going to accumulate my entire life. Then when I die, it's going to get sliced and diced to my family members after my death. So my entire life is going to be only about accumulation. And then after I'm dead, it gets to distribution. And with this $85 trillion, much of it sitting fallow and unaccessed, do you think there's a different way or a better way to think about that model that, in a sense, would be helpful for everybody?
Yeah, but I don't think people are going to do that. I think that no matter what you do and no matter what you say to people, it goes back to the interest rate. People are locked up in that interest rate. And as far as even transferring that wealth, going out, sitting down, financial advisors sometimes really piss me off, because a lot of financial advisors out there don't know anything about real estate.
They make their money on your portfolio in the market.
Yeah. So I wish there was another class of, so we have to be really careful about giving people financial advice. But as soon as someone brings up their financial advisor, a lot of times what we see, even though they're supposed to have a fiduciary duty, a lot of times what we see is financial advisors not wanting people to buy real estate because they want to hang on to their money, because they want to keep moving their money around, because every time they move their money around, they get a fee. And I think there's some I don't know, a lot of financial advisors, I can't call them crooks, but at the same time,
they're incentivized to keep the money. I
don't think they're real good at advising people. There's so many tools out there where you can just get smart about your money, and even in the wealth that you do have, going to sit down with somebody else. I know that you recently did this where you were learning about trust. If you don't know what trust is, you should learn about trust. If you don't have a will, which I'm so amazed at the amount of people. So amazed at the amount of people.
Update mine. Mine's not
so
very
incredible
solid.
The amount of people that don't have wills. I'm so amazed that a lot of people's real estate and their finances end up going to the state, going through probate. It all gets carved up. Financial advisors should tell people that. Let's sit down and make sure that you have a will.
But I guess what I was going to say is there is a model where if you do have that house free and clear and you sell it and actually downsize, that you liquidate a bunch of cash and you can do incredible things with it.
And you can keep investing. A lot of times people think, like the model of Social Security, should you take Social Security early? Depends. If you're going to take Social Security early because you need every dollar and every dime, then you should probably take it. If you're going to take Social Security early, like I have a pension that I took early, but all the money I haven't spent a dollar of it. It just goes right into another investment. And I went and I did the math, and I'm like, if I control the money versus if the pension company controls the money, I'm going to have more money if I control it. It's one thing if you, and you see a lot of Social Security people now giving advice and saying, hey, maybe you want to take it early, but that's what the model of, people have this idea when I get 62 or 65 or 67 and I retire that I'm going to stop investing and buying and selling things. No, you're not. You shouldn't do that. What you should do is continue to do what you're doing in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. Continue to be smart, invest money, never retire. People that retire, that don't go out and you transition. I'm going to transition and volunteer more of my time. There you go. I'm going to transition, and let's say that you were a financial advisor. I'm going to go out and help people with their finances. I know real estate. I'm going to keep doing things and helping educate people about real estate. Maybe I'm going to go to community college, be a professor there and teach. It's very, very important that people transition, because people that just retire and you've saved up this money and now I'm going to go retire. You can only get on the love boat so many times.
And then my final point on this, if you are in this 70-plus crowd, don't look down your nose at the 40 and under crowd. They're not lazy. They're not a bunch of avocado toast people. You lived in a time and you were lucky.
What's the matter with avocado toast?
Nothing. That's the thing that they said, oh, if you just don't eat avocado toast and have a coffee, then you can get into home ownership. Oh. There's a lot of stuff that went your way that you had that was just good luck, like the bull run in the 80s and the 90s, that the 40 and under crowd, they just have less money. Stuff is more expensive. And so it would behoove you and your family to figure out a way to maybe assist them so that they can get to the same position you were in.
Yeah. You should make a chart out of this, put it on a whiteboard, and explain it online.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. We appreciate it. If you need us, all they got to do is reach out.
Yeah, ronanddonsitdown.com, or you can email me directly, ron@ronanddon.com. Let's get a strategy together for you and your family that's going to help you be on this curve and not on this curve.
Oh, if you're not watching, you don't know what Ron was pointing to with his Hobbit pointer. What is that again?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, yeah. How did we used to do this 5 days a week? We just did 4 shows in a row. I am totally wiped out.
I am too.
I need a smash burger. I don't eat those anymore. So, anyway. Hey, if you need us, ronanddonsitdown.com. You need the buyer playbook, the seller playbook, ronanddon.com. If you need to just talk with us, just tackle Ron in a store. I walked into a coffee shop the other day, and there was a woman in there. She had a lot to say to you, and I was trying to get out of there. Because she figured out that you were Ron.
That's right.
And then did she bring up the word "I'm crazy"?
She said, "Don's going to think I'm crazy, but," and I was like, "Oh boy, here we go." It's not a good start.
It went fine though.
It was fine. I diffused the craziness.
You did.
Yes.
You waited for me.
You should have bought me a coffee.
Why didn't you? Usually you wave them off, and then I don't have to deal with it. And
I brought her right in.
You brought her in. Yeah.
All right.
We ended up having
see you next time.
Conversation. Head up, shoulders back. You been listening to the Ron and Don Show all night on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.